Chaber had said that to be obligated tzitzis, it has to be a four-cornered garment. What happens if you have 5 corners or 6 corners? One is still obligated for tzitzis on the garment because it's still, because 4 is included within 5, within 6. What happens if he has a 4-cornered garment and he rounds off one of the corners? So if now he's no longer obligated because now it's 3. But he said if you have, if you put on 5 tzitzis, what he has 5 corners and he puts tzitzis in each one of the corners, he's a violation of Bal Tosif. Because Torah says only 4 tzitzis, not 5. It's like putting a 5th compartment in tefillin. You're a violation of Bal Tosif. But he said, what happens now? You take off the 5th tzitzis, right? The 5th tzitzis. And now you left the original 4. You had 4, and then you put a 5th. So one doesn't have to remove the first 4, even though when the beged, the garment, did not function as a garment of tzitzis when you had the additional tzitzis, because of Bal Tosif, one doesn't fulfill the mitzvah, right? If you have a tefillin with a 5th compartment, it's not tefillin. So you would think, so if you put a 5th tzitzis, it's not the mitzvah of tzitzis. So maybe when you take off the 5th, you have to undo the first 4 and put them back on, correct? What? No. So we made a differentiation. Here he put the first 4, he put them on correctly. The 5th doesn't say the first 4 are not. The garment is still obligated. No, the 5th, he has to take off the 5th one. Anyone is okay. Anyone's okay, right? So the answer is the garment is still obligated, right? Except you have 1 too many. Okay, so you take off 1, you leave the first 4, or any of the 4, it's okay. Right, but he says it should be the farthest corners, the farthest, because it should be nicker. It should be obvious that this tzitzis, not the closer corners. Okay. Then he says, what happens if you have a corner and you cut it on a diagonal, right? No, so you make it into 2 corners. Okay, that's where we're at. Base. Go ahead.
Making your garment 3 instead of 4 corners is not a way to avoid a mitzvah?
You're not obligated.
Not obligated, but you're doing it in order not to have a mitzvah of wearing tefillin. Wearing tzitzis.
So we once mentioned a Gemara, this famous Gemara in Menachos. The Gemara says there was a Mora, his name was Rav Katina, and when he would tailor his garments, he would always make sure that the corners were rounded. They should not be squared. In those days, he didn't wear a garment specifically for the sake of the mitzvah. It was just based on the type of garments they were. They were cornered garments. But he would make sure always to round it. So evidently it was somebody of special stature. So his name was Rav Katina. Malach comes to him. He says to him, why are you rounding off your corners? Here you have the ability to fill them with tzitzis, he says. You're only obligated if you have a 4-cornered garment. So I'm not in violation. He says it's true, you're not in violation. But if there's ever in Eden the Rischa, if the wrath ever comes out on Klal Yisrael, and you need Midas HaRachmim because of what you've done, that you extricated yourself from a situation where you could have fulfilled, but you did not, you're not going to merit Midas HaRachmim during Eden the Rischa. That's what he told him. And it's a Rabbeinu who cites this. And it's not only regarding tzitzis, any mitzvah. If you could have done a mitzvah easily, and you extricate yourself, if there's ever even the rizcha, you will not merit midas harachmim. So he says, you're not in violation, but here you have an opportunity. How do you not take advantage of the opportunity? So therefore, it's a claim. It's a claim against the person. So to merit that rachmim, when you need rachmim, you're not going to merit that rachmim. Okay?
I'm wondering, now, if my suit here was square instead of rounded, would I need to wear tzitzis in my jacket?
Well, you have to have 4. You have to, it has to be the majority of the garment. It has to be the majority.
The other is square.
No, the vent doesn't go up. It has to be majority open. Come over here. If I'll tear it up, all the way up, then we'll give an example. Show and tell, okay? Rabbi's coming, show and tell.
You'll never have to tear them.
No, undo the stitch. The back, not tear the material. Undo the stitch. Okay? Okay? So let's see the Mishna Berura here. On base, he had 4. Harei nasis balus chomish v'chayeves. Achas balachson, hu adinim chotach shtei knofos balachson. 2 corners. Nasis balus sheish, 6 corners. Balus chomish chenim hoyolo, tchilo sholosh, v'chotach korov achas l'shnayim. Originally had 3, and he takes one of the 3 and he cuts it on a diagonal. Nasis balus arba v'chayes b'tzitzis. Same thing. But so shiach aticho gdol of nikeres. Yeah, it's important. What about he just snips off? He snips off just the tip. It's not obvious it's a corner. That means he has to cut it further down that it's obvious that the 2 ends of what you cut off are far apart. The dafkim chotach mitzas me'abeged ad shi al yidei ze nir osa amokim shnei karnaim. Aval lo chotach klum rak pigima besakin kora ba'keren ad she nechlak osa amokim l'shnayim lo nasa al yidei ze bas arba ad she rov pasuach kidel kamen siv zayin. He's saying something interesting. What happens if you have a corner, 3 corners, and then you take a scissor and you cut it on the diagonal. You just cut it a few inches in. So now it's the corner split. It's not good enough. You say, well, but the 2 sides to it. It's still 3. That's called the 3 corner in the garment. It's not 4. Then the only way will be you have to cut it the majority up, because now the material is what is actually, we say ruba kukula. If you cut the majority, so even though they're next to one another, but actually it's like 2 pieces of material which are attached at the top. It's like an abracanthus, right? So therefore, even though they're next to one another, it doesn't make a difference. Well, he discussed earlier, if you don't have a round-necked arbocanthus, it's cut in the center, right? So if the majority is open, and therefore what? You can put tzitzis, those are corners. Those become corners. Okay, so you have 6. But you put it at the farthest. But here we're talking originally start off with 3. 3, and now he cuts it. How far up does he have to cut it to be considered that now you have 4 corners? You have to cut rove.
There's 2 ways of cutting. You can either cut and like a bend, go all the way up, or you can cut and leave it attached. If you look at it from the outside circumference, there is no slit. How much of that piece do you have to take off?
Why would you go to socket? Why would you put tzitzis on a socket? Why would you go to
It's not a corner. That's what he's explaining.
You don't know. You don't know if it's
What do you mean you don't know? We know what criteria you have to meet to be a corner. It's not a corner of a garment.
There's no such thing as a socket corner.
Okay. Good.
Different question.
Yeah.
How do we know? I heard the argument, but I don't understand it. How do we know that you're obligated to put 5 or 6 tzitzis on 5 or 6?
You're not permitted. You're not permitted. Baltosif.
That's what I thought.
No, you're not permitted.
I thought we said that if you have
No. It
6
says even
corners,
if you have 6, you have to put 4 tzitzis on the corner, on 4 of the corners.
not
No, which means when the Torah says 4-cornered garment, doesn't mean 4 and not 5 or 6. It means 4 is included within as many other corners as you have.
But you're never obligated to put more than 4 tzitzis.
No, you're not permitted.
That's my
You're not
question.
permitted. It's
Because
baltosif.
It's like 5 compartments
In tefillin.
tefillin.
Exactly.
But if you had a garment style, the 4 largest corners or the 4 most distant
the most distant corners.
would be the ones that get
Correct. So then it's most obvious with that you have 4 tzitzis on that garment. No, correct. Okay, let's go further. Otherwise, we're going nowhere. Man comes from England. He wants to take something back with him. You do a deal. You never close the deal. What is he going back with? Okay. Kofel karnas taliso kshurim tvorim. Right, we're saying if you round off a corner, what happens? It's no longer a corner. What happens if he just folds it over and ties it? Or even he sews it. V'domiki luk tzon vein luk nofos. It's the equivalent. It appears as if you actually cut it off, and it has no corner. Afal pikein lo niftro. It's not exempt. Why? Because factually, it's tied. The corner is still there. Because you could undo the stitch. You could undo the stitch, and you could undo whatever's holding it together. I want his public mechila from Rabbi in case maybe I was not sensitive enough. Okay, Rabbi. I value his question, but we have to move.
Is it because the fold still creates a corner?
No. He folded it in a way where it's not a corner.
It's round.
It's rounded. He folded where
That's
it's
not round. I mean, if you fold.
No, he folded it in a way where there's none. Like he folded it over, that there's no edge. And then he sewed it around.
If you take something and you fold it over, you do create angles.
With material, let's say he folded it like this. No, you don't. It could be round.
If you do this.
If you do that, yes, yeah. That's the equivalent of a diagonal.
Right.
That's the equivalent of a diagonal. But we'll see later. I mean, it's not simple. Whenever you put tzitzis in a corner, it has to be within 3 inches of the corner. If you put it above 3 inches of the corner, that's not called the corner of the garment any longer. So let's say you go and you would fold it over like this, and you have, let's say you've created 2 other corners, and you put it through here. If the stitch is not called stitch, so factually, if you'd open it up where you put it through, it's above 3 inches. It's not valid. Because Torah says you have to put the tzitzis in the corner of the garment. So if it's above 3 inches of the corner, that's not the corner of the garment. Okay? So it plays both ways. If you fold it in a way where it's no longer a corner, it's still a corner. Because it's only tied or stitched. Because you didn't actually cut it. And if you fold it over, since the corner is still the corner, so if you put the tzitzis further in, although now the way it measures, it's within 3 inches of the end, but factually, if you open it up, it's more than 3 inches into the garment. So factually, it's not in the corner, you're putting it in the middle of the garment. Okay, to be continued.